Today, I would like to do a video on a guy I met at the street races at nighttime at a hopping contest. His name is Turtle, out of Santana Blocc. One night, me, Dee Wag, Rob, the few of us, we was on 71st Street over Rob's house, charging up the batteries, waiting to go to the street race, which was on, I think it was Tuesdays or Thursdays nights. And we was getting ready to go to the street race because every week we usually go and every week we have a different event. But today I wanted to talk about a guy that had passed away a while ago and I never really see him get his just due. His name is Turtle, out of Compton, Santana Blocc. As we drove down 71st, we made a left at the corner on 71st on Hooper. When we got to Florence, we made a right. As we going down Florence to get to Main, we hit a light on Central. We waited for the light. Rob was testing his switches out at the light. As we made it to Avalon, we noticed that we could see kind of like a big crowd down there on Main. And as we passed Main, Avalon, we went to San Pedro. And as on San Pedro, like always, when you look down San Pedro towards Manchester, always be ambulance and police. As we got to Main and Florence, where you have the Golden Ox hamburger stand, you have the Winchell's, you have the 76 gas station. On the other side, you have auto part place. And we seen on one side, it was all the Crips, lowriders. And on the other side, we seen the street racers, which was guys that would race. And the other side was like players. Each side had different things going on. As they made a left at the corner of Main and Florence, you drove about 5 feet and we looked in the back of the parking lot of the Golden Ox where they had a big dice games and they had lowriders hopping. And I noticed this guy he had a 63 extended bumper, I think it was green or gold convertible Chevy. It was one of the cleanest Chevys I seen. And everybody was saying this guy's name was Turtle from Compton. And he didn't have a lot of people with him, but I guess he knew a lot of the guys because he was in YA or prison with him. And he was hopping his car. And he had, the first time I seen a bumper kit with the engraving on it. It was a clean car. And I noticed this guy, he was like a thin guy. And I think he had, his hair was real nice. And I think he had a Jerry curl or perm. And he was hopping his car. And I noticed that he had on 2 beepers. And he had a little kid with him. And he had on a beeper. And he had the certain kind of way they dress. And I was like, man, who is this guy? And everybody was like, this guy name is Turtle from Compton. So the homie Rob had a 63 rag that hops out the door. So him and Turtle kind of like lined it up in the back of the parking lot. Everybody looking. I mean, man, girls, guys, blacks, Mexicans, all the coaches, whoever was affiliated with us. We was back there and they start hopping. And they hopping. And they hopping. And they hopping. And one of the cars starts smoking a little bit. I don't know if the hydraulics or the hookup start messing up a little bit. But then Rob say, okay, man, that's cool, man. That's cool. Let me show you what my thing do. So Rob pulled out. He backed up. He pulled out of the Golden Ox on Main. He made a right turn. He went down to Florence. He made another right turn, and he went down to around half of the block, and he came back hitting the switches. I mean, like in the movies, like in the show, hitting the switches as he dropped it, boom, 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 boom. I have really never had seen that. And when he got to the light, he kind of like stopped, and everybody had ran to the front. I was like, man, you see that? Because every time he hit, it looked like he hit the gas, and it was just woo, boom, boom, boom. So when Rob made he made a left at the light and went back into the parking lot and laid his car down. And he had the sounds blowing, and Turtle was over there. They were working on Turtle car. But this was the first time I had seen this Turtle. I had never really seen a lot of guys from Compton at our street race, because we know they got their own street races too. They got their own lowrider scene. But I had never seen this guy before, but I had heard about him a lot. And when I seen him pull Rob to the side, and I seen them talking, and they was talking, and they was talking, and they was like talking in a way like they was like bidding on a car. And I see Turtle, I think he beeped somebody, and somebody came by, and the next thing I know, man, I seen Rob car on the tow truck, and I was like, man, what's going on? He said, man, Turtle bought my car, man. I'm like, huh? He said, yeah, man, Turtle bought my car, man. He asked me how much I wanted for the car. And this was the first time I seen a guy, man, that actually buy people cars right there on the scene. And I always seen Honcho up there on the other side of the street. I never seen him buy no cars, but I always seen him leave with people cars. But this day, man, when I found out about this guy, Turtle, from Compton, years later, I always heard his name associated with the homie Lala from Six Deuce that I kind of like grew up with. And I heard that him and Lala was real good friends, and they always used to look out for each other. Turtle used to always look out for me. I always respected the name Turtle. I always respected the guys that they from Compton, the guys like Turtle and the guys that used to come to LA and mingle with us. He would always come, you know what I'm saying? And he would always mingle with the homies, and they would always walk on to me. And I seen this guy, everybody kind of, I never heard nothing bad about Turtle. I always heard good things about Turtle, and how he was getting the money, and how he was on real business in Compton. And I just wanted to expound on this guy. I haven't really heard a lot about him over the years, because I did a lot of time in the feds. And I always hear his name, and I always heard he was associated with lowriding, and I always heard he was associated with Santana, and I always noticed that he was one of the guys that everybody always talk about guys, and they would always say, oh man, Turtle had this, and Turtle. But to have a 63 rag top extended bumper with East Coast bumpers and the Daytons and all the Zenums and all that, back then when this guy had this Chevy, man, it kind of blew my mind, because as years later, when I tried to find a 63 Chevy, it was hard to find. And this guy had one in the 80s. And I was like, man, he must have already, been turned up and getting his money, because a lot of guys, man, it take them years and years and years to get cars built like that. And I seen this guy. Not only that he had one, he bought one that night. And that was one of my kind of like motivational acts with me, because I noticed that we had a lot of hustlers in the city, and I noticed that this guy did that night, and that kind of like motivated me to start going and hustling harder. And this was one of the guys that I kind of like looked up to from a far distance, because he's from Compton. And I always noticed his name, and everybody talk about his name. And I always wanted to learn more about him. And when I did go to 4800, I always used to hear guys talk about Turtle and his lowriders. And there's a few guys they always talk about with lowriders, but this guy, man, he had some of the most beautifulest ones in his younger years. And this is about Turtle from Compton, Santana Blocc, Turtle.